if you're going to do it, go all in. And that is exactly what I did. What I decided to do was to turn the thing that I was so ashamed of into my brightest shining star.
Thank you. It's so awesome to have you here, and I'm really, really pumped to be able to share with my community the amazing stuff that you're doing in the world. So just to begin with, I wanted you to give us a bit of a rundown. Tell us about yourself and how you got to creating the business that you're in right now, and how you got to where you are right now in life as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as some people know, and for those of you who have never met me before, as Christine said, yeah, my name is Kylie Pax. I am Australia's emotional eating coach. And what I do is help women who, how I like to say, basically who cannot stand next to a chocolate cake without wanting to roll around in it naked. We have those situations where, for many, many people, food is just not an issue. But if you've ever had those situations where you feel sad, mad, glad, happy, any emotion basically, in fact, and you turn to food as a way to drown out what you're feeling and replace it with another feeling which is way more pleasurable, because let's be real, chocolate. It's usually chocolate cake cookies, right? Sweets of any kind, but some of us are also more onto the savory, crispy types of things. But, these are the women that I work with. And the way that I sort of found my path was I did this sort of, my underlying training is in that health coaching sort of genre, and that's where I started out. And then I had a fabulous group of girlfriends who actually pulled me aside one day, some other business associates, and sort of said to me, we get what you're doing, we're feeling the vibe, but I feel there's a little there more for you. I don't think you're being authentically and honestly yourself with your audience. They said, we know about your history with emotional eating. We know about your history with yo-yo dieting. We watch you and the way that you eat and the way things are very we can tell these are trigger points for you. And we just basically are calling you out and want to say, if you're going to do it, go all in. And that is exactly what I did. What I decided to do was to turn the thing that I was so ashamed of into my brightest shining star, and let that what I used to consider my menace become my message to the world, and let other women know that there's nothing to be ashamed of. Not only is there nothing to be ashamed of, this is so common. Everybody at some stage turns to food to fill an emotional need. So it's a way for me to sort of put it out there to go, this is real. It's not, you're not crazy. The fact that you really feel like chocolate does have a Wi-Fi connection to your brain is true. It's real. And these are things that we can deal with. Exactly. Given the right tools and implementation strategies, it's all deal withable. Here's a new phrase for us. But it's all, I don't want to say fixable, because you're not broken. Like, it's very normal. So that's sort of how I came to be on the journey and the path that I'm on.
Cool. Okay. So tell us just a little bit more about your history, in terms of your history with emotional eating. Like, was there a trigger for that? Was there something that set it off? Or was it a response to something in your life? Like, how did you come about in terms of having what is now your brightest shining star? How did it become your menace to begin with?
Yeah, and that is so true. And what you say there is so on point. It was my deepest, darkest secret and my biggest shame for all of my life. I always say I dealt with emotional eating for 30 years. This is not like a little skip through the daisies and then I was out of there sort of thing. It was my whole entire life, and it started from as far back as I can remember. So it's not like, some women may be able to pinpoint a certain time in their lives when they can say, well, when I was in my 20s, my partner left me and I started emotional eating. No, I was as small as sort of 2 years old, and I used to stuff my face with chocolates until I was ill and physically ill. And, who can know why those sorts of things would happen? You can't know. All I can know for sure is that I was certainly quite a little sugar fiend from a very young age, and there was no off switch for me. Enough was never enough. So it started from very young childhood all the way through, into teenage years and then adulthood. It was just, food was my everything. There was no other way that I felt with that was acceptable to cope with feelings. I just turned to food. But for the longest time, I didn't even know what I was doing. I didn't realize what I was doing. I did not put a name to the action. It wasn't like I sat back and went, oh, I'm emotional eating again. All I knew was that I felt as though I was the greatest loser in the whole world, the biggest failure, because every time I felt something, I couldn't stick to any diet, and every time I was sad or upset or anything, I was stuffing my face, and all I knew really internally was that I was an enormous giant failure, and that's the feeling that I went through my entire life with. I was not good enough, I could never be good enough, and so the vicious cycle continued. I would soothe those feelings with chocolate, hate myself even more, stuff more donuts down my face to relieve those feelings, and on we went. So, you know, as I say, it really is a very challenging situation for so many women, which is why it's so incredibly important to know that you're not alone. And not only are you not alone, it's very normal behavior. We live such stressful lives. So that's pretty much how it rolled out for me in the big picture.
Cool. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. There's something that you said that I just wanted to pick up on, which I find is something that I have in common with a lot of women that are on the same sort of or similar sort of path. And that is that, like you said, you kind of feel like you were born with it. Like it was something that you did from a really young age. It was something that just you were doing unconsciously, and it's been there all along. And through your adult journey, you've become conscious of that, and it has now turned into a message for you to share with the world. So this is a really interesting point that I really wanted to touch on, because I feel that everybody has a really important message to share in the world, and I do feel that that message is not something that's crafted. It is absolutely something that is within you from, you know, perhaps even before you're born. So it's really super interesting, and also very confirming that you've been able to look back on your journey and say, well, this is something that I just did all along, and it was always there, I didn't know, and you have actually turned it into the greatest shining star.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is the most important message of all. It's about being authentic. The more we run around trying to hide ourselves from the world, and in fact hide ourselves from ourselves, we can't bear to actually look at what is going on with us, the harder we try, the more ashamed we feel of who we are. We're human beings, and we are women. Like, let's be real. We're so super awesome it hurts, but we have a lot to deal with. We do. You know, exactly. Like, raise a hand. It is true. And, you know, we are incredible, and we have multi-talents and incredible gifts and so much to share with the world. But as long as we are squashing that down and feeling ashamed about things that we shouldn't feel ashamed about, it's all a mindset anyway. It's only your perception of what is and is not acceptable that allows you to show certain sides of your personality to the world. What if we all stepped up and said, this is me, this is who I am. You got something to say about it? I really don't care anymore. It's more important, eventually I decided, it was more important for me to live my fullest truth than for me to pretend to be acceptable in society's eyes. And of course, I mean, you know, you're not suddenly unacceptable. What you will find is that the deeper you step into who you are and allow yourself to flourish and become all of who you are, the more at peace you feel in your body, the more at peace you feel around other people, and the more people are attracted to you because you have such an incredible message to share, and you're the bold one who's not afraid to share it. That's where I think the power lies.